The call came in just past midnight, barely a whisper through static. "Please help." Then silence. Officer Ben Calder had heard a lot in 17 years on the force, but something in that voice, it pierced right through him. A tremble, a breath, like the girl was hiding under something, or someone, when his K9 partner, Diesel, froze at the tree line near the old Dawson farm. Ben figured it was a fox or a coyote, but Diesel didn't growl. He whimpered, sat back on his haunches, and stared into the dark like he'd seen a ghost. If this story pulls you in, feel free to follow along. The beam from Ben Calder's flashlight wobbled against the trees as he stepped off the gravel path, boot soles crunching dead pine needles. He kept one hand on Diesel's harness, the other gripping the flashlight, and aiming it into the black. Wind moved slow through the trees, heavy, like something was holding its breath. Diesel stopped again, muscles locked, tail low, nose in the air. Ben crouched beside him, hands sliding instinctively to his sidearm. "Talk to me, buddy," he murmured. Diesel let out a low, shaky whine, barely audible, then took 2 careful steps forward, every part of him taut like a coiled spring. Ben rose and followed, heart tapping against his ribs. The dispatcher had tried to trace the call, but it bounced off a relay tower outside county lines. All they knew was it came from a prepaid cell, one of those gas station burner phones. But the voice, the way she whispered it, it wasn't just scared. It was resigned. He hadn't told the others that part. The old Dawson property sat on 34 acres of overgrown pine and rusting wire fences, a mile off the main road. The barn had collapsed years ago. The house still stood, barely. Windows busted, roof buckled on one side. Rumors about were small-town standard fare. Drugs, squatters, kids doing dumb things with Ouija boards. But Ben knew better. 3 years ago, a girl named Tori Blaine had gone missing not far from here. Last seen walking home after tutoring. No body, no signs of struggle, no suspects. Ben had chased dead leads ever since. He shined the light across the open field. Mist moved low over the ground like it was crawling, reluctant. Diesel kept pacing in a tight arc, nose twitching near the edge of the house's foundation. Then he stopped, just froze, and looked straight at the cellar door. It was a wide slab of wood, sunken at a slight angle into the dirt. Ben hadn't noticed it on previous searches. Not that he'd been out here in a long while. The door was half covered in vines. The iron handle rusted through. Diesel whined again. "Stay," Ben whispered, pulling his shoulder mic. "Unit 21. I need backup at the Dawson property. There's something here." Static. "Repeat, Unit 21. Backup requested." Silence. No bars. Ben stared at the mic, cursed, then holstered it. Figures. He moved toward the cellar, every step cracking like a scream in the quiet. His free hand hovered near his sidearm. Diesel stayed put, ears pinned back, whimpering low and constant. Ben gripped the handle. Pulled. It groaned open. The smell hit first, wet wood, mold, and something else. Something wrong. Rot. He aimed the light down. The concrete stairs disappeared into shadow. No movement. No sound. Except a faint sob. Ben held still, every muscle tense. Then, softly, so soft he wasn't sure he heard it at all. "Please help." He took the stairs slow, one at a time. Diesel stayed above, whining in protest. The cellar was colder than it should have been. Walls of stone slick, with moisture. His flashlight scanned across a rusted metal shelf, an old chair, glass jars with something black and sludgy inside. And then, a figure, far back, sitting against the wall, knees to chest, bare feet. She looked no older than 16. Her hair was tangled, face dirty, but her eyes, God, her eyes, were locked on us like she wasn't sure if he was real. Ben lowered the light. "It's okay," he said gently. "You call for help?" Her lips moved, but no sound came. He stepped forward. "I'm Officer Calder. My dog's right outside. You're safe now. I promise." She shook her head slowly. Her fingers gripped her knees, so tight the knuckles were white. Ben crouched in front of her. "Are you hurt?" She nodded, then mouthed something. He leaned closer. "Say it again." She whispered, barely, "He's still here." Ben's spine went cold. He turned slowly, flashlight beam sweeping. Nothing but stone walls and shadows. "Who?" he asked. She didn't answer. "Is someone down here with you?" Her breath hitched. She pointed upward, toward the stairs. Ben followed her gaze. Footsteps. Above. Boots on wood. Diesel barked, once sharp and panicked. Ben stood, weapon drawn. "Stay down," he said firmly. "Don't move." He moved toward the stairs, flashlight sweeping the way. Then, just as he reached the base of the steps, he heard the cellar door slam shut. Everything went dark. Ben's breath fogged as he gripped the flashlight, now flickering. "Who's there?" he barked, weapon aimed upward. No response. He climbed the stairs, shoved at the door. Nothing. Locked. He pounded. "This is Officer Calder. Open the goddamn door." Nothing. Then he heard something else. Not footsteps. Breathing. Right behind him. He spun, flashlight flaring against the wall. No one there, but the girl was gone. "Hello?" His voice cracked with sudden panic. Silence. He moved back down the stairs, light darting frantically over the floor. No sign of her. Just the empty wall where she'd been sitting. He turned in a circle, pulse hammering. What the hell? Something moved behind the shelf. He swung toward it, gun raised. A shadow slipped, fast, too fast, into the far corner. Ben followed, light bouncing, gun trembling in his hand. "I said identify yourself." Silence. Then an echo, faint but clear. A whisper, repeated from nowhere. "Please help." Ben's hands shook. The voice wasn't coming from the corner. It was all around him, from the walls, the floor. The light flickered. Then, crash! The shelf toppled. Something knocked it over from the other side. Ben fired once, deafening in the small space. Wood splintered. No figure, just a wall. Stillness. The flashlight buzzed, dimmed, then went out. Ben stood in total darkness, his breath ragged, gun raised, ears ringing. Then, soft again, a girl's voice right behind him. "I didn't call you." He turned, blind in the dark, and something touched his wrist. Up above, Diesel was clawing at the door, barking frantically. He pawed the wood, whined, barked again, then stopped. His ears twitched. His nose pressed the gap in the doorframe. He growled, then backed up, 1 step, 2, and barked louder than Ben had ever heard him. A warning, a scream, something no animal made without knowing exactly what waited on the other side. And then, from inside the cellar, a second voice, not the girl's, a man's, low, calm. "You should have stayed away," Calder. Outside, 30 seconds later, backup arrived. They found the door wide open, the cellar dark. Diesel was gone, and so was Ben. The only thing left was his badge, lying in the dirt, still warm. 3 hours passed. No sign of Ben Calder. No trace of Diesel. No footprints leading away from the cellar. No tire marks in gravel. Just the abandoned squad car, parked crooked along the tree line with the driver door still ajar. Keys in the ignition. Radio dead. Sergeant Wade Mercer stood by the car, jaw clenched, his own K9, Luna, pacing nervously at his side. She refused to go near the cellar steps, just like Diesel had once done during a training session 2 years earlier on this very property. That day, Ben had laughed it off, said it was probably a possum or dead raccoon throwing her off. Wade remembered the look in Diesel's eyes then. It hadn't been fear. It had been grief. Deputy Lena Hart shivered as she surveyed the field beyond the house. She'd grown up just 20 minutes from here, rode bikes past the Dawson place as a kid, always hearing the same stories. A drifter who lived in the woods, a woman who drowned her own children, fires at night no one could trace. Every small town had a haunted place like this. But something about this land felt worse than haunted. It felt used. Not recently. Over time. Again and again. She turned back toward Wade, who was kneeling beside the cellar entrance now, examining something in the dirt. "What is it?" she asked. He didn't answer. "Wade!" He held something up. A collar, black nylon, frayed at the edge, faint bite marks along the strap. The name tag read, Diesel. "Jesus Christ," Lena whispered. "Is that blood?" A single drop near the buckle. Still wet. Wade stood slowly. His knuckles were white around the tag. "I'm going down there," he said. "You sure?" He looked her dead in the eye. "Ben's in there. I can feel it. And the girl—" He hesitated. "She was never real," he said. "The cellar was darker than it should have been. Even with 2 high-powered tactical flashlights, the shadows move wrong." Luna refused to follow. She stayed at the door, barking, ears pinned. Wade descended first, light scanning the concrete walls. The shelf was still toppled, Ben's footprint still visible in the dust. Up to a point. Then nothing. Lena followed, her voice quiet. How does someone vanish in a space this small? Wade didn't answer, because he saw it now. The back wall, far left corner, was smeared with something. Not blood. Something older, like smoke residue or mold shaped by fingers. He stepped closer, shined the light. Letters, scratched faintly into the stone. "He is in the walls." "What the hell?" he whispered. Lena raised her weapon. "Wade, behind you." He turned. The girl, she was standing at the foot of the stairs. Same tangled hair, same oversized t-shirt. Her eyes locked onto Wade's, empty and full all at once. Lena kept her gun up. "Ma'am, are you injured?" "Where's Officer?" called her. The girl's mouth twitched. Then she smiled and whispered, "You brought more." Wade froze. Lena's finger curled around the trigger. On the ground. "Now." The girl turned, stepped back into the dark, and vanished. No footsteps. No rustle. Just gone. Wade ran to the spot where she stood. Nothing. No door. No opening. Just stone. He slammed his fist against it. "Where is he?" The wall answered with a soft, hollow thud, like something behind it had moved. He stepped back. Then the wall shuddered. Stone cracked. A seam appeared in the rock, horizontal, waist height. Lena's voice trembled. "Is that a door?" Wade didn't respond. He reached forward, pressed his palm to the seam. The stone shifted under his hand, then gave way. A panel swung inward, revealing a narrow tunnel. No lights, no air movement, just a corridor cut crudely into earth and rock. The stench was unbearable. Wade looked to Lena. "Get back up. Now." "I'm not leaving you." He looked at her again, something unreadable in his eyes. "I'm not asking." She stared at him for a beat, then turned and ran up the stairs. Wade stepped inside. The tunnel curved almost immediately, just enough to block the cellar's dim light behind him. He moved forward, slow, light shaking in his hand. The walls were damp, lined with beams and rusted nails. He passed a rusted folding chair, a child's shoe, a broken glass jar with a curled photograph inside. Too moldy to make out. He kept going. Then he heard it, a scrape, then another, and breathing. Not human. Low, raspy. He raised his light. At the far end of the tunnel, something was crouched. It was facing the wall. Pale back, naked, spine curved unnaturally. It didn't move. "Ben." Wade tried. "Ben, is that you?" No response. He stepped closer. The thing twitched. Then slowly, agonizingly, it turned. Not Ben. Not even close. Its face was raw. No lips. Black eyes that gleamed like oil in the flashlight's beam. Its mouth opened too wide. The sound that came out a garbled imitation. "Please help." Wade stumbled back, heart jackhammering. The thing scurried, unnaturally fast, along the wall and into a side hole, vanishing in the dirt. He stood there, frozen, chest heaving. And then, from behind him, "Wade." He spun. Ben. Bloody. Disoriented. Clothes torn. He was half collapsed against the tunnel wall, arm outstretched. "You found me," he rasped. Wade grabbed him, pulled him to his feet. "We're getting out. You hear me?" Ben gripped Wade's shoulder, breath rattling. "She's not a girl. Never was." Wade nodded. I figured. Ben looked up at him. She's using them. The missing ones. Faces. Voices. They're not dead. Not all of them. Just hollowed out. Like puppets. Then Ben collapsed. Wade caught him just before he hit the ground. And as he did, a whisper from the shadows. Don't take him from me. Wade turned. The girl was back, but her eyes were pitch black. She stepped forward. Her skin shimmered like heat off asphalt. Behind her, figures emerged from the dirt walls, eyes glowing faintly. Silent, the girl spoke again. You brought more. Then smiled. Lena heard the scream just as she reached the top of the cellar steps. She turned, flashlight jerking. Wade! Silence. Then a thud. Another. Then Ben's voice, hoarse and ragged, echoing up the stairs. Get out now! Lena didn't hesitate. She ran back down, flashlight beam darting wildly over stone and dust. When she reached the tunnel entrance, the panel had already started to close. She wedged her foot in the seam and shoved with her shoulder. It gave. Barely. She slipped inside, gun drawn, heart in her throat. The smell was worse than before, like something rotting beneath water. She followed the tunnel, flashlight flickering, the beam barely piercing the dark. Then she saw them. Wade crouched over Ben, who was unconscious, eyes half-lidded, mouth mumbling something incoherent. Wade's face was streaked with blood. His left hand clutched his side, where dark crimson soaked through his uniform. Lena, he gasped. We need to move. She rushed to his side, slinging Ben's arm over her shoulder. Where is she? Wade didn't answer, because the whisper came again, right behind them. Please help. Lena turned. The girl stood in the tunnel. But now she was unraveling. Her hair moved like threads in water. Her mouth didn't move when the whisper came. The voice came from the walls. From the soil. Lena raised her weapon. I don't know what you are, but you're not keeping him. The girl stepped forward, smiled, then blinked. And in her place was someone else. A boy, 11, maybe 12, missing front tooth, jeans too short. Then blink. Another, a girl this time, blonde, 13. Then again, a man with a split lip, wide eyes. Each blink brought a different face. And every face whispered the same words. Please help. Lena's voice cracked. Stop. The faces didn't stop. They multiplied, crawling from the dirt, from the cracks in the wall. Ben moaned. Wade tried to stand but fell to one knee. Lena aimed at the ceiling, fired. Debris rained down. Dust filled the tunnel. The whispers stuttered, just for a moment. That was all they needed. She pulled Ben with her, Wade limping behind. They stumbled toward the cellar. But the tunnel was changing, extending. Every step forward moved them nowhere. The exit was still too far. And then a bark, sharp, clear, Diesel, from somewhere beyond the wall. Ben stirred. Diesel. The dog barked again, then again, and then a section of wall to their right cracked, burst inward. Diesel charged through, his fur matted, his vest torn. But he was alive, and he lunged straight at the girl thing. Knocked her back with a force that seemed impossible for a dog his age. The whispers exploded into screams. The faces dissolved. Soil turned to ash. Diesel barked again and again, standing over the fading shape. And then stillness. Just the three of them, breathing. They made it out just after dawn. Paramedics met them at the tree-line. Ben was stabilized. Wade patched. Lena didn't speak for a long time. Diesel wouldn't leave Ben's side. They searched the property, of course, every inch. No tunnel, no door, no signs of recent disturbance, except one, carved into the cellar floor. One word, over and over, help. 3 weeks later, Ben sat on the back steps of his house. Diesel curled beside him, resting his chin on Ben's boot. Wade visited sometimes, still walking with a limp. Lena hadn't spoken about that night to anyone, not even her husband. They knew what the report said. Hallucinations, gas leak, shared trauma. But none of them believed it. One night, Ben reached into his drawer, pulled out the old case file. Tory Blaine, the missing girl. He looked at the photo for a long time, then walked outside. Diesel followed. They stood at the edge of his yard near the trees. Ben looked down at his partner. You knew, didn't you? Diesel didn't bark, just stared into the woods, watching, listening, waiting, as if whatever they'd left behind hadn't truly gone, and might someday whisper again.